What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This is a second look. Actually, this is like I don't know, fifth look or something. I've seen this film a couple of times. So, this is in preparation for the fact that I absolutely plan on seeing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I know you guys are used to me seeing reviews a little late on my channel. It won't be that late for Kingdom. It'll be very shortly for Kingdom. Kingdom will come. Um, and but first, I wanted to talk about the trilogy leading up to. Actually, honestly, I'm doing this kind of late. It's probably going to be like in the middle of it because as the day I drop this is the day that I'm planning on also watching Kingdom, but I still also need to drop Dawn and War. So it's a lot of Planet of the Apes in a short fragment of time. This film is directed by Rupert Wyatt, and it stars James Franco, Frida Pinto, John Lithgow, Tyler Labine, but most notably Andy Serkis, who plays Caesar. It's also got Brian Cox is in this, who's I feel like I always have to mention because he is my favorite actor. And he's not in much of this, but he is in this, so it is a slight bonus point. And this is a film that I feel like Matt Reeves seems to get a lot of credit for the trilogy, and I'm sorry, but I love what Rupert Wyatt did at the very beginning. And if this film wasn't solid to begin with, we never would have gotten Dawn and War. So you can go lick Matt Reeves's ass as much as you want, because I'm not the first person to go through and talk about, and everyone on YouTube is talking about Planet of the Apes films right now, and everyone's like, oh, Matt Reeves's films. I'm not hearing nearly enough love for Rupert Wyatt. Listen, if this film had sucked, Matt Reeves would be cleaning a toilet somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wouldn't even have the opportunity to direct Dawn and War. So, it starts with Rise. Rise is absolutely my favorite film of the franchise. It's the growth of Caesar, seeing that exploration period, seeing his evolution, seeing the against the backdrop of a world he doesn't know. The film also focuses a lot on him, so he doesn't have to share a lot of his mocap screen time. So it's a really strong performance from Andy Serkis. He is the central character. He's not bouncing around between too many of the other apes. None of them have really taken up too much of the screen time, although we do have some apes that will end up making more of an impact later on, like Maurice and Coda. I feel like that's not right, but I'm going to say Coda. Yeah, so it's it's a great film. Anyway, I loved when it's still iconic when he just says no. And everybody's just like, what? Did he just speak? You know? Oh my God. I love that scene. That scene still works for me, like 1,000%. And I know we're like not supposed to talk about James Franco anymore, but he's really good in this. But not nearly to the level of that. I actually really love John Lithgow's performance in here. I would have really enjoyed seeing. The problem is that genre films, we don't ever look at them for like Oscar consideration. I would have loved to see Andy Serkis, of course, get a nomination for mocap. It's really absurd. I hope he gets like an honorary Oscar at some point for the incredible mocap work that he's done over the years. He's created some of the most amazing characters on screen, and heartbreaking work between Gollum, between King Kong. It's just like some of the biggest mocap performances have been Andy Serkis, who is also an actual actor who you can see in things and also does direct. So it's not like he's not just like some nameless stunt performer who is like, who is this person? You know? No, he's a real guy, does real work consistently all the time. It just happens to be a mocap. And it would be nice for somebody to recognize that Andy Serkis does great, fantastic motion capture performance. So, and for anybody, that's one of the things about being blind now is that I don't know who I'm speaking to on this one, but if you've ever seen him in like a special feature doing the mocap stuff in the mocap suit, he is like fully committed to like crawling around on the ground or whatever it is that you think that you're like, oh, he's probably not doing, he's doing it. He's absolutely doing those moves. He is, as much as he can, he's doing everything, that every motion. It's really fascinating to watch him actually do it. It's like watching somebody get like really into like improv comedy, you know? It's like, you know, it would almost make, I feel like if I was an actor on stage, it would take me out of it for a second because it would make me so uncomfortable. I'd be like, man, this dude is like really believing that he's this character right now, and it's amazing. You know, it's just, I'd be so, because he's not being given like any prosthetics or anything to help him get there. He's just there, you know. It's just, I know they're so afraid of giving Oscars to mocap actors, but damn it, I would do it. Um, so I would have given him a nomination. Actually, I would have given him a nomination for Lord of the Rings, but also probably for Rise. He probably would have, you know, if I was the singular Oscar voter, would have released him for Rise. I might have also considered John Lithgow, who I think delivers a really solid performance here as a man struggling with Alzheimer's. And he has a lot of vulnerability in his performance. A lot of range and a lot of emotions are given to his character. And I think John does a lot in this role. Everybody else just kind of comes in and out. James Franco is really the only other person who has sort of any sort of dynamic performance. Even Frida Pinto is pretty much just chilling. She's just hanging out. She's like, I'm the girlfriend character. What's up? You know, Caesar and I are cool. I'm gonna show up and help as much as I can and whatever. I love the fact that Tyler Labine is in here because I like him as an actor, and I like when he gets to be in uh, big cinema stuff because I feel like it helps his career. But then again, I feel like also most people don't know who he is, so we need a Tucker and Dale sequel. I don't know that so that people can watch more uh, Tyler Labine. It just he's fine in here. It's not that big of a role. Um, yeah, so the cast is good, and but you're here for the apes. You're here for Caesar and Caesar's legacy. And since from everything that I've heard about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it's all about Caesar's legacy. It's really great to go back and look at this film, look at what Rupert Wyatt created, and to see this world um, and revisit this performance because I'm about to find out what happens when neither Rupert Wyatt or Matt Reeves directs a Planet of the Apes film, and we give it to the guy who did The Maze Runner, which the first one was fine. I just didn't like the sequels, but the first one was fine. So he showed me he showed talent in the first film. Um, the sequels were just weird. It's like they're no longer running mazes, so we gave up on that premise pretty quickly. Um, anyway, the thing about this film with audio description, this film does have audio description, by the way. I ended up getting the whole thing, the trilogy, off of the iTunes store, because it's like it's inconsistent. I just had this conversation last night with another blind person where they were talking about how it was very frustrating to try to find a service that had like all three, um, so that you could actually watch Rise, Dawn, and War all at the same time. Well, I got them through iTunes because iTunes had all three of them with audio description. So that's how I did that. Um, and it's deluxe, and it was written. And this is odd because it actually let me know it was written and narrated by the same guy. I was just unfamiliar with the name, so I can't remember it now. But it's really good audio description. It's one of those where sometimes you use the word that you would use, and it doesn't necessarily apply. There's a moment where he says like Caesar turns to his people. And it's like, well, that's a human word, and I kind of get what you're saying there. But he is turning around to the apes. So, and later on, they use the term simian, like just 2 seconds later to describe that grouping. They use simian. So, but it's just funny that when you say turns around to his people, um, they're not people, but it really does feel like that, doesn't it? Um, this is an odd film because I've seen this is my first time watching it without audio, without sight, with just audio description. And I can tell you the film is a lot less fun. It just is. I'm sorry. This is one of those things about becoming blind is it's because the film is such a visual masterpiece. Um, it just is. They did the work to make these apes look incredibly realistic, and that sort of is the wonder of it, is how good it is. And those visual effects only get better. I remember looking at War and being like, they these are real. These have to be real. Like, I mean, you're looking at the way like the snow is like falling on their fur, and like the way that the fur is like moving in the it's so complex by the time you get to War. Like it already looks realistic in this. But then by the time you get to War, they've already made enough advancements in VFX that War feels like a completely different experience in terms of VFX. So, and most of the characters are motion capture at that point. I mean, here it's Caesar and some of the apes, and there is a really cool Golden Gate action sequence that involves a lot of motion capture work and visual effects. But the film does have a lot of humans in it to kind of ground it in. So this was, like I said, a best case scenario. I really enjoyed John Lithgow's performance. I always have, and I was still able to enjoy his performance in this film. The film is well audio described, so I always know what Caesar is doing, and his expressions. Um, the audio description really focuses heavily on making sure that we get his expressions because he's very expressive, with his emotions and stuff, and he uses sign language to communicate, and um, it's definitely something that really shapes his characters. You can always kind of tell when he's happy, sad, angry, frustrated. He has a range of emotions, and it's a little like having a deaf child, basically, because in the earlier part of the film, he's fully communicative and acts a lot. He acts very human. That's part of his thing, is that he's been given this drug, and he wasn't given the drug. He inherited the drug and the gene, which has caused his intelligence to skyrocket. So he's blowing through the intelligence ceiling, and just surpassing anything that anybody could ever expect. So, which James Franco's character explains that he is um, smarter than, technically smarter in the way that he can do things and learn things and play games and puzzles and solve puzzles and everything quicker than comparable children of what would be his age. So, yeah, he's it does feel like that. And there are scenes in here that are frustrating. He hates being on a leash, and he sees a dog on a leash, and then he's like, am I a dog? Because at home he's just treated like a normal person. He wears clothes and he has a room and he gets to do whatever he wants. And he can talk because he can use ASL. So, yeah, basically he just doesn't quite understand the nuances of things because James Franco's character just hasn't really been real with him. But it's a little less fun, but this is still one of my favorite films. Last year I was doing 40 for 40. This easily could have been a 40 for 40 for me. I love Rise. I've seen Rise many times. And it is my favorite of the trilogy in terms of enjoyment. It's under 2 hours. I think that's something we don't appreciate enough, is when a film can actually do this and do it in a time frame where you're like, wow, you told a complete story from beginning to end in a normal and reasonable amount of time. That's amazing. Yeah. That is, congratulations to yourself, sir. It really is. It is a skill and it's a talent, and everybody else just is kind of like, well, could I get an extra 20 minutes or a half hour? And it's like, fine. All right, let's do 2.5. But he did it in 2. So, again, I don't know why we're not giving love to Rupert Wyatt. All the love in the world. If I could redo the Oscar nominations, I really think this film should have been in consideration. But I know we look at Planet of the Apes and we're like, oh, it's a Planet of the Apes film, genre film. It's got special effects in it. Now we're at the point where we're like, Dune is the front runner for Best Picture. So it's amazing how much, like, put 10 years on it and suddenly we're giving like Oscars to everything everywhere all at once, and then everybody this year is running around going, Dune 2 is going to win Best Picture. It's just like, where were you people 10 years ago? Like, I appreciate that we're now at a point where you can have that kind of conversation, but there's so many films that were genre before that deserved more than they got. And this is one of them. Rise deserved more than just like a VFX nomination. So it's a much better film. I adore this film. I think it has fantastic audio description. And if you're coming at this from a point of never having seen it before, I think you'll love it. It's just, once you've seen what they actually did to like the realism, it's insane, and there's no real way to describe that except to have, like, before the movie starts, just have like 5 minutes of some guy just being like, going nuts and being, oh my god, guys, oh my god, oh my god, it looks crazy, it looks like a monkey, what is this? Just to get you like really hyped up. But yeah, it's, I don't know how else to do that, but it's weird, and the funny thing is, it only gets better. Arguably, of the films, this has the worst VFX because it's the oldest of the series. So they only spend more time, more money, and the VFX only in what they're able to do get better. So by the time we get to war, it's just like, you're convinced that they hired real monkeys, like that they're not mocap, those are actual chimpanzees running around, and they've trained them to act. but Rise is and always will be my favorite. So I'm going to give Rise of the Planet of the Apes my golden ticket to the A plus category. It gets an A plus from me. It's one of my favorite films, and I the others are not going to be that far behind. Don't worry about it. It's just this one gets slightly elevated as being my favorite in the series. So, um, anyway, that's it. So I'm really excited to see Kingdom. And this is a series that has not disappointed me, which is amazing because it's a series that you feel like could go horribly wrong. So Kingdom, the bar is so high for Kingdom. Wes Ball just needs to bring it because man, that first trilogy was fire. So um, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys shortly with more reviews of Dawn, War, and of course, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Until then, see you guys on the other side.